When I began video content for Vita reviews, it wasn't for actual video reviews. It started as little gameplay videos to throw into text reviews on my blog website. And for today's entry in the Throwback series, that's what we're going into. The very first game I made video content for from a sports franchise that handhelds haven't seen in a long time. Here is my review of Madden NFL 13 for the PS Vita and PlayStation TV. When it comes to gameplay, this is a 3D sports game. As you play each mode, you control players in games of football, choosing plays and running down the field with the goal of performing touchdowns and winning games. Now first, let's talk about NFL 13. On the Vita, we have some different modes, but the game itself was also a little different from previous entries. EA decided to pitch licensed music this year for an instrumental soundtrack, one thing that I've got a lot of fond memories of. A few of these songs, Legacy and Glory in particular, still get stuck in my head randomly even when I haven't listened to them in years. But let's get back to game modes. You have 5 options no matter where you play. Both had access to Practice, Play Now, and Madden Moments, while home consoles got Connected Careers and Ultimate Team. The Vita replaced these with Franchise and Superstar, and even sported more management options in Franchise mode than on home consoles' Connected Careers. The Vita also had some interesting platform-specific controls. You could use the physical buttons or touchscreen to move players around the field, and they redirected kick aiming to the gyroscope as well as moving defensive lines to holding the D-pad while using the rear touchscreen. But a word of warning about these options. The aiming and defensive line options are mandatory and only can be used with gyro or the rear touchpad. If you play this game on a PlayStation TV, which doesn't support gyro and cannot emulate the rear touchscreen and using the D-pad at the same time, you just can't use these features. Now let's talk about these modes. As you'd expect, the online servers for Madden 13 don't work anymore, meaning you cannot access the online multiplayer or Madden Moments Live. Thankfully, you can still access Franchise, Superstar, Play Now, and Practice. It's just a single player game now. And getting into it, with Play Now you can set up your own game in Exhibition or do Super Bowl 47. This is a pretty simple mode, but honestly, what I played the most. I always love hearing the commentary for the Madden series, so I would often just jump into a game and use spectator mode to listen as if I were just watching a game of football. Sure, the voice lines do get repetitive over time, but I found it a fun thing to listen to and watch in the background. And then with Superstar and Franchise, it gets a little more extensive with managing your characters, trading, simulating your playing games as you go through a career or seasons, and of course being able to create your own custom character to make a superstar out of if you don't want to use a real person, or let's be honest, if you don't want to use a roster that's 11 years old at this point. Now, it's not super crazy like sports games nowadays. We don't have a progression system in its character mode like MLB The Show has for baseball, but there's a decent amount you can swap around with. Though playing the game is what we want to get to, and it's fairly simple overall. Like real football, the game is turn-based with you selecting play configurations to use to either get the football to the other side for a touchdown or defending against the opposing team to make sure they don't get a touchdown. And when you're selecting, you get little previews of what the plays look like, can make your own plays to a point, or for more casual players, the Ask Madden option is there to give you recommended plays to choose from. When you're doing all this, you have active control over the players, moving around with the analog stick and using the face and trigger buttons for passing the ball when you're on the offense. You also have other little things you can do, like swatting the ball and swapping around with characters depending on the situation. It might not be as technical or advanced as the more recent Madden games, but it can be fun to go through players or just spectate and listen to the commentary as games are played out. And at the end of the day, it was still Madden NFL on a home console, and was arguably the best portable console Madden experience, considering it was a port of the home console game, while the previous year's 3DS title was its own thing that didn't even have a year in the name. Next up is presentation, which for the time was pretty good. The textures and backgrounds didn't look great, but the actual character models did. You can see a fair amount of jagged edges on the PlayStation TV, but really they put a lot of detail into it. Performance is where the game takes a hit, but it's still got it where it counts. Essentially, we get a solid 30 FPS anytime you're in control of a player, moving around the field and passing the football around. But you get a lot of frame drops into the 20s when you're going through the between play cinematics, and there's a lot of lag and freezing when navigating menus. Many times when entering and exiting modes, it almost feels like the game freezes for a few seconds before doing anything, and the actual load times are decently lengthy. But back when it came out, it was pretty impressive that despite all of the technical issues outside of gameplay, it was smooth when it needed to be. And before we conclude, why did I choose this game for our 10th anniversary throwbacks? This was technically the first game I made video content for. It was just a 4-minute gameplay video to throw into a text review, but still. It was also the last time EA Games made a handheld console Madden title. We had loads of Madden games on the PlayStation Portable, and they made a big PS Vita hardware bundle for $13, but after that they looked away from both Vita and 3DS, developing just for mobile phones, home consoles, and PC. Granted, Madden Mobile 24 is a pretty nice experience, especially if you have access to a backbone controller, but proper handheld consoles have been missing the franchise for over a decade. In conclusion, Madden on the Vita was pretty much the full experience and still stands as the most home console Madden game on a proper handheld console. Now on the downside, there's no more multiplayer, no Madden moments live, and there are a good number of frame drops and lag when navigating menus. But for what it was a smooth Madden game to play on the go with jittery cinematics. It's just a shame EA never tried again with the Switch. PS Vita Reviews rates Madden NFL 13 a 6.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.